So part two, let's see, right here, this is some good stuff here. What everybody has in common on this list is needing a platform to make it happen. So there's an idea and they need a platform in television. Could be on cable. So think about it. And we need it like in a few days because my family could get saved, and I'm going to get into that in the details in a moment. What I'm calling for is treating every single person as if they are valuable enough to rearrange your life to make it happen. And we are going to use this show as a platform for transforming the healthcare system so that everybody we know is getting the same treatment. It's totally possible. So the idea was already developed in great detail in the book that Maria Dorfner wrote. She worked with Tracy Reiner and Penny Marshall together to create this television show in primetime television for, you know, her agenda at the time, from my reading, is to reveal this same information that I have in my library, and we talked about it. So I've been working on exactly that for almost 20 years, since I started working with my dad 20 years ago. And I got the letter right here to Dr. Bruce Perry, which details my first suggestion and invitation to create a platform, a way to communicate to the whole country and the whole world. If you create one show, it can be translated into every language. And there's some videos on YouTube that have gotten billions of hits. So this is critically important. So what all these people have in common, starting with Tracy Reiner, so they were working together. They shopped it up. Tracy Reiner, Penny Marshall, and Maria Dorfner. They shopped the proposal up to the top at NBC, CBS, and NBC, I believe. At least two of the three. And then something would happen, and Jeff Zucker was involved. It would get shifted and canceled. So when I talked to Tracy Reiner, because I got introduced, our connection was that Penny Marshall, she married Rob Reiner after Tracy was born, and Tracy adopted that name. So Rob Reiner's father, Carl Reiner, attended the Pritikin program, maybe in the 1980s, and then he was a spokesperson until he died a couple years ago. And so I was introduced to her by a friend who went to high school with her, and we talked extensively over maybe a dozen or more phone calls about, this was after Tracy and Penny Marshall had given up. It had been derailed so many times. I'm not exactly sure. Given up probably is not the right name. I mean, they put it on hold while Maria kept working. So when I got introduced to Tracy, she immediately started talking to me and introduced me to Maria, and I got the book. And so that's what we were going to do. Tracy Reiner, and Tracy was going to introduce me to her key friends, like Carrie Fisher, people who had been misdiagnosed as having a genetic caused mental illness, then put on drugs that were not working and not given the real cure. So Dr. Bruce Perry wrote about that in his book, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, about people being diagnosed as having schizophrenia, and they actually had a lot of traumatic experiences happen to them. And so he writes all about that in that book from 2003, I think. I'm guessing there, way back. And so that's exactly what I've been trying to reveal for 20 years. So 20 years ago, approximately, I put together a chart which showed that the mental illnesses have the exact same symptoms as stress. As stress is listed, the symptoms listed in my father's book that was published in 1984 by Doubleday. It was endorsed by more top professors and top health experts than any book I've ever seen. So right in there, difficulty with memory, difficulty concentrating, things like bipolar disorder, they all have the same symptoms as post-traumatic stress disorder. ADHD. 2008, I wrote to Dr. Bruce Perry, and he was very interested. Why this is important? Let me tie it all together in 30 seconds. So, unresolved traumatic experiences is epidemic. The majority of Americans have had traumatic experiences, and they're not getting the cure. And the cure is getting diagnosed. You know, and it's not really like diagnosed with something that's incurable. It's just understanding that you don't have just heart disease, you know, heartbreak and heart disease. Many, many, many broken hearts leads to heart disease. So this doctor has the cure in a program that won't get funded. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to get into details because from when Bush was president, Obama, Trump, I shopped these people's books and ideas in my own proposal right up to the top. Okay? Now I've got 2 family members that have never gotten it because I got the door slammed on myself. And it's all detailed in my 2-page letter that I wrote. And you're going to love it. It says right on the back, hand in hand with freedom of speech goes the power to be heard. Robert F. Kennedy. Now his son just got his platform shut down. Shut that guy up. Wow. To share, hand in hand with the freedom of speech goes the power to be heard, to share in the decisions of government which shapes men's lives, like we have a vote. Everything that makes man's lives worthwhile, family, work, education, a place to rear one's children, and a place to rest one's head, all this depends on the decisions of government. All can be swept away by a government which does not heed the demands of its people, and I mean all of its people. So my aunt is facing death now because the medical system is not taking heed of the needs of the people. She's had several incidents there. She's not getting the cure. My mother, 86 years old, is there with her, watching her suffer, and she's going to die unless we create that platform, fund it. I want to bring them here and create the Healthy Living Program. The program in the Trump-owned hotel, Henry Waxman has gone through it. Michael Moore has gone through it. Carl Reiner, Mel Brooks, Shirley MacLaine's parents, they all had their life extended, but my dad can't get it, my aunt can't get it. And neither can your family, unless you're super rich, and then you can afford it. So the rich people can get it, but the common people can't. And that can change because right in my 2-page letter is the answer. So what it says, see the top doctors, I have their books. Andrew Weil, Herbert Benson, Dean Ornish, Mark Hyman. All of these doctors have described in detail how to cure illnesses. And 10 years ago, they testified to the Senate in detail. Will you please shift some of the $4 trillion that's going, no, $3 trillion at that time, now it's at 4, into healthy living solutions like our programs. Senator Tom Harkin was in the room. Yeah, that's fantastic. You're a genius. High fives and hugs all around, but then they never did it. And so that's why my dad is suffering. That's why my aunt is suffering. And my mom is suffering watching them. And we've been taking care of him for 2 years. He got given a bad drug by UC doctors, developed by UC doctors. It poisoned him and crippled him. And the other doctors have been refusing to give him treatment, physical therapy for 2 years. It's got to stop. And together we can do it through a TV show. Let me get to that next.